Iowa Debris and Jennifer Lopez on talent.
Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Cake Radio Show. It is the last day of Vlogsmas, and I'm also putting like the other episodes out late because let me explain myself. We on the 23rd, I talked about on the 22nd that was my birthday, but on the 23rd I was doing some Christmas stuff, and I was also doing my birthday dinner with friends, and that filled up my whole day. And the 24th is obviously Christmas Eve, so I also was just running around, working and doing stuff for Christmas, preparing that up. Y'all know how it is. I don't really need to explain myself with that, but I'm still going to give y'all the last 3 episodes of this Vlogsmas series, and I just wanted to do this last episode just kind of reflecting on the Cake Radio channel and the show for 2024, how it's been, my thoughts on it, and what am I thinking about doing for 2025, giving y'all some details about like what I'm doing with that. For starters, I want to thank everybody who's been listening to the podcast. It has been such an incredible journey making this podcast. Like, for those who've been following it since the beginning, I started off making it with just my phone microphone on my little Google Pixel 6a, and like having to work on like how to make that podcast exciting without having the tech and stuff to like really make people like tap in like that. Like, the audio was terrible. I was stuttering a lot. My train of thought was just all over the place. I was leaping between different topics. I didn't know if I wanted the podcast to be like a film podcast. I didn't know if I wanted it to be like a pop culture podcast. And I just wasn't even posting it on YouTube because I was just like, well, I need to figure out which YouTube channel I was going to post on. Because at that time, I was, using I had 3 different YouTube channels running. It was the Cake Radio, was now the Cake Radio YouTube channel, which used to be the Cake Edits YouTube channel, and I used to do edits on that channel, but I stopped doing that because I kind of fell out of love with it. Then you had CC and Ticket, which was my film and TV based YouTube channel, and then there was the CakeDive channel, which was mostly like at that time gaming stuff, but now it's kind of switched over to comedy videos and like original projects and stuff that I'm working on as well. Be sure to subscribe to that channel too, because I'm working on something really exciting, really personal to me called Red Velvet. It's coming out this spring. Really excited for y'all to see that because y'all gonna gag. But I remember being at this time trying to figure out where am I even gonna put this podcast out on YouTube, because a lot of people who listen to podcasts like listen or watch them on YouTube, and I've always been a YouTube girly down. Like, this has always been my roots, my hood. Like, it's always been my place, and just kind of figuring that out, I had literally popped across each of those channels at different times. I tried the D podcast here on Cake Radio, trying to do one rebranding attempt. That didn't really work out. Or at least I didn't commit to it the ways that I committed to it this year. Then I tried on the CakeDive channel on this channel where I tried it first. I tried it with an episode talking about like Megan, the movie, the Velma TV show, and then like Ice Spice. The girls wasn't really clicking with that one. I watched then on the CakeDive channel, when I tried it there, I talked about and reviewed the Super Mario Bros. Movie when that came out. And that one did pretty good. And then the second to last attempt I did was on CC and Ticket, and we did a brief little like run for like the end of what is season 2 of season 1 of the show. Actually, because this is season 2, where I was talking about a bunch of different topics. Mostly I was trying to lean towards movies and TV because that was the focus of CC and Ticket. But the biggest performing video on there, and for a long time, I think it was the highest performing like Cake Radio episode on YouTube, was the episode I did talking about Dream and Nicholas Cantu, who plays Gumball. So like, I talked about the drama between that and how everyone was cutting up about that. And that one really was the episode that made me realize, like, oh, we need to figure out like where are we putting this show, because the girls who tapped into that one liked the episode. And originally I was thinking it was going to be on the ZC and Ticket channel, but there was near the end of 2023, the beginning of this year, 2024, I decided to change my mind, and I decided to change course and try it one last time here on what is now known as the Cake Radio channel, if you're watching this on YouTube. And originally I was just like, I'm not using this channel. This is the only channel I had on YouTube with monetization enabled. One thing about me, I'll chase a bag if I can. I just wanted to like do one last attempt here on the channel and see, where it goes. People might hate it. People might not watch it just because it's not edits. That's completely fine. It's the attempt. As long as I make the attempt and I see like where I can really take the show, that's what mattered to me at the end of the day. And we was pushing it. We pushed it. We pushed the podcast. Like, we came out with, I worked with my friend, Leo does voices, as you know them. Reviewed The Last Omen. The girls wasn't really tapping into that. And then I did the episode on Chloe and Halle and my thoughts on their solo music and why people feel like, why it feels like people hate and like refuse to tap into their solo music. And then that was when things popped off. Like, the girls was really liking that episode, and like even the girls who didn't like my thoughts on the episode were still like having conversations and stuff like that. And that's one of the things I wanted to do, having conversations on these topics. And we've put out like so many episodes of the podcast. I think we're almost at like 73 or 74 episodes just off the second season of the show. And we've had an incredible journey. I've had an incredible journey. We've had so many hit episodes here. Like, we had the dopamine era where like I was talking about the rollout and like defending Normani, also giving my critiques to Normani and like chronicling that. I had the again, the Chloe and Halle episodes where I talked about Chloe and Halle. We had the, like with Vlogsmas, we had the Shamik Moore episodes where I was talking about how one, Shamik Moore was obsessed with women, and then when it expanded to Laura Harrier, how Shamik Moore is just really weird with women. The Azalea Banks episodes, when I was talking about how like Azalea Banks is really weird, does she deserve homage, stuff like that. The Gerard Carmichael episodes, talking about like how that show he did on HBO was really weird and my thoughts on that. Camila Cabello, Frank Ocean, Amanda Seales, Lil Nas X with the album scrapped rumors, Flo. Like, there was a lot of episodes that I did that, people really enjoyed and tapped into. And that, was just really fun making. There even was stuff that, like, still did fine that I still enjoyed, like making Studio of Hacks, the documentary on the 2014 Sony Pictures hack. And just putting stuff like that out, like really experimenting with the topics and stuff that I talked about on this channel to see like, what do y'all really like? What really fits with, the podcast? What really works for me? What I enjoy talking about and stuff like that. And again, it's been an incredible ride. I've had such an incredible time making this podcast. I have had so much fun making this podcast. I've had a lot of love come to the podcast, both from you guys, my bakers, my fans, and also just like creators. Like, I've had people come up and ask like they're listening to it, they're telling me they're listening to the podcast and giving their thoughts on the topics. They're asking if I'm gonna do interviews or like host with, like, bring co-hosts on, asked if they want to hop on. And also I've gotten like some fair criticisms from the podcast as well. Like, I've had criticisms on certain topics I've addressed or how I've addressed those topics. Which, I love constructive criticism. This is a place where you gotta improve and stuff like that. And for me, the two biggest things that I've gotten, the most consistent things, was just like working on like solidifying my production and also like visuals. And that kind of leads me to like the last topic I want to talk about here. What do I want to do with season 3 of the Cake Radio Show? Because again, podcast has done so well here. I absolutely will be doing a season 3, and it will be coming to this YouTube channel and everywhere you listen to podcasts. This is the official home of the Cake Radio Show, and I'm so proud of that. The biggest things I want to do with the Cake Radio Show in 2025 would be, and obviously, like you guys will know. I'll let you guys know when season 2 wraps and when season 3 begins, because there's gonna be a little bit of work in between. But when I kick off season 3 on the Cake Radio Show here in 2025, I want to give you guys some proof visuals. Obviously, I'm not like comfortable showing my face on camera. That's just kind of something that I've never really had interest doing. I think at some point I'll get there, but like now is not the time. But I absolutely want to like give you guys some more visuals. Like the current visual that we have is like it's okay, but it's not really giving. Like y'all kind of want some visuals. Like word to Beyonce, like y'all have been asking for visuals, and I have been, working on doing some sketches for that, and eventually I'll be reaching out to some artists to do some possible animation or some art that will give you a little bit more than what the current visual is currently giving for sure. So that's how I'm addressing visuals. When it comes to production, I think throughout this year I've been steadily improving it. First times were like just quality control issues, just making sure that I was listening back and hearing the podcast and making sure that like I could hear that, like if I could hear myself, making sure that like you guys could hear yourself, that hear me, because I think that was a big issue earlier on with the podcast. Like the audio was just really low, or like audio might have been like one like the right ear and not the left ear, some stuff like that. So just like making sure that I was like listening back and just doing casual quality control on the episodes before they came out and like y'all heard them was just the first thing I needed to do. And then near the end of the year with like Studio Hex, when I released that in November, just making sure that, with music and stuff, like with Studio Hex, I kind of wish that I had a little bit more time working on that one. I had to experience like some of the worst crunch that I had to experience in, my time on YouTube making that video, because I wanted to make sure that was out in time for the anniversary of the hack. And I like quality kind of step out of the way in trying to get that out on schedule, and that was just something I have to apologize for, because that is not what I wanted. I had someone clock me just being like, oh, like we can barely, like a lot of people liked the documentary, don't get me wrong, but I did hear some people either privately reach out to me or someone in the comments talk about how the sound, like my voice is softer than the music, and just making sure that was worked on. Next time we all gonna see a documentary on here on Cake Radio, which will be for Icon's I.O. Debris. The sound one, I'm not doing the voice work for that. My friend Leo does voices, is going to be doing the narration for that one. But I am taking the time to make sure that it's mastered properly and sounds good. And then additionally for the podcast, I would love to not even just for the podcast, but for the YouTube channel as well. I want to just like expand the podcast and do multiple shows. Y'all have kind of seen that happen this year. I've kind of been doing teases of it because I tried, doing the pilot for Inside the Box Office, which nobody watched. We tried the film podcast, which, some people watched, some people didn't. It was like a really mixed bag. With like CakeDive Film Club and stuff like that, which was originally on CCN Ticket, but we tried moving it over here to the Cake Radio Show. I might still keep doing that just because I love talking about film. Like even if y'all don't tune into it as much as I do, like I would love to do like some sort of series talking about like TV or movies. Like that's something that I've always wanted to do, especially with the podcast. So like, plus like the people on other podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Music and stuff like that, like listen and enjoy those. So like y'all will probably still be getting those next year. But there's some other shows that I've been working on that. Oh, and also like some of the smaller things like Icons and Studio Hacks that came out either this year or coming out next year. But that's gonna continue next year as well. I want to keep doing documentaries here on the show and just releasing that both here on YouTube and on all the podcast platforms. I want to introduce either like a new show or just like an extension of the Cake Radio Show where I get to like sit down and like interview like either creators or interview guests, or even just like have like a casual conversation, like having people on the podcast, because it seems like a lot of people have reached out to me about that, and I want to see if like y'all, the bakers, my fans, will tune into that. There's also like a show that I like asked y'all about that like y'all seem to be interested on. If I did like a tea time kind of thing, or like a ask, kind of like an ask cake dive type thing, which y'all bring in y'all questions, y'all bring on y'all tea, and I talk about it either by myself or with a guest. I definitely want to do that next year, and I will, when I come back, I will announce like the information and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that I'm working on for the channel next year that I'm excited for y'all to see. I think that y'all really enjoy. And again, Cake Radio Show will still be here, and we're gonna be stepping it up and doing some big things next year. But if there's anything else that y'all would like to see from the podcast or from like any of the other shows that I'm like thinking about bringing on, or any show ideas that you have, let me know. Like, I am open to that, and I would love to hear from you guys. If y'all think any of these things are good ideas, or if y'all want me to hold off on some of these things, y'all are very important to this, to like the success of the show. So like, let me know. But that was all that I have on that topic. Oh, I've completely forgot. There's something very big that's coming to the Cake Radio Show next year. It's gonna be a little bit more informational, more educational based. I will be announcing that next year. I'm really excited for y'all to hear what exactly that is. I'm obviously not talking about it like here, even though I should, but I think that it would make a lot more sense when I announce it, when everything is said and done and set in stone on that. And I'm like really excited for y'all to really like hear what it's about, because I think it's really exciting. I'm really personally proud about it. And the people I've talked about it with and like asked for criticism on really are excited for that idea. So that will be announced next year. Can't wait for y'all to hear about that one. But yeah, that has been it. That has been 25 days of Vlogsmas on the Cake Radio Show. It's crazy that we've made it this far. It's crazy that we were able to make it through all 25 days of Vlogsmas. You know, terms and conditions may apply. But that has been it. I'm going to be seeing y'all next year, near like the end of January. I'm going to take like a 3-week break just from like making content, because like I've been working at it. I've been pumping the stuff out, yo. Like one thing that's important is just taking a break. It's like I take breaks from being a creator, so like it's something that I know I need to do. But I just want to spend, the Christmas season and the New Year with friends, with family, and like just working on the plans and stuff that I have coming forward for y'all next year. But that's been it for me. I hope y'all have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. I will talk to y'all in the new year. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Cake Radio Show. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel where you get episodes before anyone else. And be sure to listen to the episodes on your favorite podcast platforms. Give the show a rating, because it helps turn on notifications, do all that. But I'll talk to y'all next year. Oh my God. I keep saying that. But like, this has been it for me. I will see y'all next year. Bye-bye.